brought the information with me. But it did include a line so that over in the Indian homes, as well as the neighborhood over on the east side as well,
That's awesome.
to increase the funds to make what we're talking about happen. And that was, I don't think you were in that meeting. I think
Just bring me to the table.
DeAndre was in that meeting. That was, I want to say it was somewhere near $1 million, but I'm not exactly sure, again, off the top of my head. But there was some movement. I have not been made aware of all of those intricate details.
I understand.
But there has been some movement, at least being presented to me, and now it's a matter of approving the contracts, making sure we vet it, because it's not just the Indy homes in the east side.
It's the east side, yeah.
It's some other things in there in that contract that they're looking to get some dollars approved for as well. But we'll get you the information, but also we need to take some information from you as well. It sounds like.
Yes, and then the last piece is we had 6 residents become homeowners, and the blessing is before I closed on my home, and I know Councilmember Tate and Edwina, the whole time in the meetings, I will always say, make sure that the parcels are combined. Make sure that the parcels are combined. Mr. John O'Brien, when he built these homes, he knocked down like 3 homes at a time and was placing homes on parcels that were never properly registered with the city of Detroit. And so finding out and doing this walk, we have at least 2 to 4 of the residents whose parcels were never combined. So when they close on their homes, they close on their garage and not the home itself. And so when I met with Jermaine said, oh, we have, they're going to get their home. And I said, Jermaine, you have them wide open. I said, because if their home goes into foreclosure, because that's what happened and that's why this all started, because half of my home went into foreclosure until you guys combine the parcels. We got interest investors coming in, buying up property, and if they're in their home and they say, surprise, you purchased your garage, the reason why the Clarks found out they purchased their garage because the city assessor came out and said, you own your garage, congratulations. And they were like, no, we own the house. And it wasn't until we looked at the paperwork that they actually closed on their homes. And it was like, how the heck could the city drop the ball? And then Jermaine is saying, oh no, that's the county. And I'm like, somebody need to get it together, because it's too many homes that John O'Brien has gotten away with building these homes. For instance, he has several homes facing Eaton, but their addresses are facing towards the street, like Fielding, Patton. So he's not even getting credit. I mean, he's paying a whole different tax bracket. So he needs to be investigated. But besides that, there should be no excuse that these residents are wide open of having their homes snatched, because the county and the city will not get their heads out their butts to get the things together and communicate and talk. And I know, Councilmember Tate, I got to say this, you have one of the best and active districts. And you know that I'm a community fighter. You know I walk with you. But at this point, I'm going to continue to walk with you, but we're going to have to start cracking some heads to help bring everybody in alignment. So, again, thank you, to you and your team. But, again, this is about to be escalated. And hopefully we can get some resolvement before a community town hall, and I can't wait to meet with Edwina before everything happens. But we're tired of the excuses. We just want home ownership and fairness in our community.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow.
Hey, Dan.
Good speaker. You could be a politician. Hi, everybody. I'm Dan. I live on Salem Street. I've been working and living in the city of Detroit. I know it's I've been working and living in the city of Detroit since the mid-'70s. I've owned the house I'm in now for 25 years. The city of Detroit is in the best place it has been since I've been around. I mean that wholeheartedly. It's safer, better lit. People are cleaning their properties. You don't drive around town to see trash lying everywhere. By the way, lady, thank you for cleaning up that corner. Nobody else will thank you. I will. I was that mad lady that was in the middle in the beginning. I was frustrated. I wanted things to be done. I wanted them done now.
When
The clicks called my
Edwina, can you hold the mic for the gentleman?
Well, anyways, you've got the greasy, squeaky wheel gets the oil, and you've got to keep bugging these people. And whatever you do not call the mayor's office. Talk to some lady named Betty. Start yelling at her and asking for your tax money back, because you'll be getting called for jury duty for the next 9 years. That's true. That is true. It happens. But I think the city's going in a good place. Yeah, we ain't perfect. We got to get rid of LLCs. Every corporation has got a president, and that person's name should be on a deed and an address that it can actually be found at. And these properties should be fined, and it should go against the taxes, and go against the house or the property. So there's a lien on it. They never sell it until they pay the fines. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. So let me ask, did she leave? Did Ms. Moore leave? So this is why this is why we have the meeting. I always talk to the NPO. This is why we have the meeting, because I want, yeah. Don't take it away from the meeting. So we actually have, no, what I'm saying is I wanted her to actually see the meeting. Yeah, not you.
No.
Is Ms. Moore, is she still over there?
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted her to be a part of the meeting.
Come on, Ms. Moore.
Yeah, because there's some other stuff, because this is demolition and all that stuff. This is why we have this meeting. So we're talking about issues that are dealing with the stuff that you have that you're going through over here. We actually have, before we go any further, I got Arthur Jemison. If you can give him a round of applause, please, as he takes off his. Guys, come on through. Come on. He's putting it back on now. So he's going to talk to us about this bond proposal, $250 million in bond proposal that is being asked to be put on the ballot, but it first has to come from City Council. And I mentioned, as I always do, that the most important element of my legislative policy, the way we operate, is having communication and conversation with the community. That doesn't mean that we always going to agree, but I definitely want to know what the community feels and how they feel about these particular issues. So, that's not on. Let's see, he's working on it. So, I'm not yet. Give him that microphone. I'm not going to prolong it. Arthur, what's your title now? You used to be in charge of HRD and
Group Executive for Planning, Housing, and Development.
there you go. So this is the man, and this is a good person. So
Thank you. What did you say, ma'am? And thank you. Sure. I'm the Group Executive for Planning, Housing, and Development. So that means HRD, Planning, the Housing Commission, and the Land Bank are the 4 organizations I work with every day. And obviously I work in the mayor's office, and I get to work with your council member, James Tate, every week. He runs the PED committee, and almost all the items that I work on travel through his committee in some shape or form every week. So he's been a great partner to us. As as he said, telling us what he thinks he hears in these meetings whenever we talk, whether we like it or not, but it's always, we usually like it, number one. And number two, it's the communication that matters so much, and that's why he asked me to come out here today. So as you guys probably have heard, the mayor has asked the council to allow language to go on the ballot. That language would ask everyone in the electorate here in the city if they would like the city to issue bonds and spend. If they would like us to issue bonds and pay to demolish all the remaining vacant and abandoned houses in the city. So I'm here to talk to you about it. And I'll just tell you, in the work that I do, when I'm with a group like yours, I usually hear about two things from a group like yours. The stuff that's happening is kind of going in the right direction, but how do we make sure that it continues? And then I hear, when are you going to change the boundaries of every program that seemed to not get into my area so that you can get into my area? And so the great news about this is that if you're accustomed to having that conversation with your neighbor where you say, yeah, they demolished that house over here, but there's a house over here that's been empty for 20 years. It's across the street from that house that they can't seem to get down. And then you talk to Member Tate, and he says, well, actually, it's in. We couldn't get that one because it's not in a hardest hit fund area. We can't get this other one because it is. The answer today that the bonds will ask the voters is, if you vote for it, we will be able to eliminate that house and get it off the landscape for you. And instead of having boundaries, every single part of the city will be eligible for this program. And in 5 years, we expect every house to have been knocked down. And the reason that that's important is that, and this is the key thing, it's not new. We're not going to be doing anything that we haven't done for the last 5 years. It's going to allow us to continue the pace of demolition that we've been on for the last 5 years. Now, another thing I also hear from folks in meetings like this is, hey, maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. Let's give you a break and tell you that it's good. What about stopping houses that might turn into the blight of the future from happening? Because I was here when there was no blight, or there was very little blight. I saw it happen. What are you doing to kind of get a tourniquet on this thing and stop new blight from happening while you're getting rid of old blight? So that's another reason why another program that's not related to the bond issue, but I think is very important, and I got some flyers about it today. The mayor, Executive Warren Evans, and Treasurer Supri announced a program last week which would allow the 31,000 people who are in payment plans here in the city with their property taxes to have, if they're eligible for a property tax exemption, which 31,000 Detroiters who have these plans are eligible for, they can get their back property taxes reduced in some cases by about 90%. The median persons who has one of these plans, their taxes are going to go down. The amount they have to pay back taxes is going to go down about 90%. So it's called Pay As You Stay, and we are taking it to Lansing and hoping that Lansing will approve it the same way they have approved other things we've asked for to deal with our particular foreclosure challenge. Because there's examples in the handout I'll give today. Someone who's got an income of $10,000 a year on a fixed income, and payment plan where they're paying $200 a month, let's be honest, they're probably not going to be able to pay it. They're going to pay something on it, as the comedians like to say, but it's going to be impossible for them to pay it to catch up. And we can't have Detroiters living with that over their head, especially when we know what they've been through to stay in that house today. We've got to do something about what happened before, and this is a way that we can do it. So the median household gets one of these, who's PTE eligible.
Sure. Make sure we transition. We're short on time.
Sure. Sorry. Sorry.
Always bring it back to that. That's
so we'll do that. I'll do that another time. Let's do questions on the bond. The key thing is that we're going to be able to knock down every vacant and abandoned house. We're going to do that. 19,000. Years. Importantly, we're going to continue selling land bank houses in the manner that we've been selling them, about 200 a month. And at that pace, all of the houses that are vacant and abandoned will either be knocked down, owned by been rehabilitated by the city and sold. We can do that over the next 5 years. Another key thing to make sure you guys know is there will not be any increase in your tax. Already voted for, but in order to do this action So, I mean, you guys know what demolition has done in terms of improving the quality of life in the neighborhoods. We'll be able to take some of the good things that have happened. Any questions?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, Mr. Williams, because he did indicate he had questions.
Mr. Jefferson, thank you for another opportunity to meet. What challenges, and this question was really to the councilman because I understand the legislative process, but what challenges do you see in Mr. Tate in voting for this? I know you have some concerns, and I want to make sure that everything that's, all of the ramifications of what we're talking about, beyond the fact that we're not going to see an increase in our millage, is addressed. So what else is that challenging out there?
So let me just tell you, just broad. I talked about non-structural blight, some of those situations that you've been dealing with. That's been my big issue. How do we deal with affecting other neighbors' lots? So if we're talking about removing and reducing blight, eliminating blight forever, we've got to deal with that issue. And that's kind of how big this statement is when we start talking about eliminating blight, $250 million in blight. And I'm not saying it won't help, but we've got to be very careful about the language we use. And the other piece to it is, what are we doing about land bank homes? So we're not dealing with the largest landowner in the city, then it really doesn't matter. It's an asterisk by that. So those are my big issues, and we've got some other nuances as well, but those are the things that have not been dealt with in whole. Now we're working on an ordinance, and when it was in that meeting as well, that will deal with some of those issues. But if we're talking about bonding, now we should use as much strength as we can to get this right out the gate. And so you all to know what this means and not just me know. So that was my major concern in addition to those other things.
Okay, thank you. We had issue with this last go round with the HHF monies in terms of some people not being legal. Let's just use that. How will we maintain or assure that we will not have that to happen again?
So, if it's okay, I'm going to say one other thing, which is those are exactly the main issues that Member Tate brought to my attention. And so we've been in a process of trying to answer his questions and then talk about the things that will make sure that when his questions are answered, there's a verifiable and documented way for us to enforce the fact that we're going to do the things that his questions are suggesting we should do. And that's what we're doing with all council members. And we're going to be sending out probably Tuesday is a set of checks and balances so people can say, hey, here we're making this decision, but here's the other decisions that council members and the community will be able to make that make sure that the things that people are mentioning are addressed. So the way to think about demo, answer your original question, is that the way I think about it is when you have a general contractor come to your house to fix something, usually they do most of the things they're going to do right. But sometimes, and it's almost every time, you got to tell them that, well, actually you didn't do this and my punch list can't be signed off on until you do this. So when you think about demo, doing demo means you're doing 100, just about 100 houses come down every week, and they're general contractors. And so we have to have people watching them all the time to make sure that they're doing it the way they're supposed to. Long story short, we have not always had enough people watching everybody do things. And so when we started this program, we didn't have enough supervision of different activities that were going on, didn't have enough separation of duties, and we've taken a lot of steps since then. So since 2016, when there was an actual stoppage of work, we've implemented a large number of changes. Now every demolition has a DBA official looking at it, a Detroit Building Authority official watching it happen. Every demo has a B-seed inspector making sure that the hole is properly prepared and that it's properly filled and covered with grass. And we've got a whole series of new checks and balances in the process that weren't there in the beginning. I'm concerned, just like you, about that happening again. I think that what I'd like to share with you, though, to be quite honest, is that when you're doing an activity 100 times a week so that you can do it 4,000 times a year, there's going to be mistakes made, and the question is, how do you handle the mistakes? Do you hide the mistakes and don't talk about them and don't acknowledge mistakes when they're made, or do you say, you know what, we didn't have enough done that time, this is what happened, we accepted the consequences, but we're going to keep moving on better and invest more money in making sure it's done right. And that's why it's been working smoothly for the last 3 years. It's always going to be problems, but the key thing is, I think today, I hope you're seeing the city in the voice of the mayor and others say, hey, that didn't work the way it was supposed to, so we had to stop it, and we had to change it, and we had to make it better. So you're going to hear me say, unfortunately, I guarantee that there will be future mistakes, but I also think they're going to be a lot smaller, and they're going to be a lot better supervised, and you're going to hear about them in a transparent way, so you don't have to feel that someone's hiding something or there's a cover-up, because that's the stuff that erodes trust. You know, when I'm doing 100 construction projects a week, something's not going to work out. So, sorry, a long answer, but I hope that gets to your point.
So I think the other question that's been posed to me, and I've talked to you about it, investigations that are not complete, and they're dealing with demolition. So again, it goes back to how soon do we know if these demolition investigations are going to be closed? How soon? Because that creates another situation of trust relating to this issue.
Absolutely. So in the beginning of the year, I want to say March, there had been a criminal investigation into the way demos were performed. And the criminal investigation said that the city and its authorities were not involved in committing any other criminal activities there. Okay. So that happened, and we all said that's what we thought it was. But there were people at a contractor who were sharing information, and those people have now been adjudicated and are doing jail time. Okay, so now what's happened at the request of the Congress. And we cooperate in every way with that audit, and we invite people to do audits, because if we're not doing something we should be doing, we want to begin to do it immediately. We believe we're doing everything we should be doing, but if somebody wants to audit us and tell us to do it better, again, if we're doing this right and we're doing it transparently, we're going to do 98% of the time, we're going to do great, maybe 95% of the time. But when we're not doing well, you need to know about it, because it's your money that's being spent, and we need to address it and change it. I don't think we should spend time saying we're not going to make mistakes, because we are. It's about how we manage them. So the major investigation's been resolved. There's an audit ongoing today, and then again, there's like day-to-day things where we had an incident 3 months ago. Contractor was just literally not doing their job. They were leaving stuff in holes they weren't supposed to leave. They were not telling people. And BC and others identified the problem, and that person got fired and had to repay the city. So we're going to have that happen, hopefully very infrequently, but when we do, you're going to hear about it, and we're going to take care of it.
I have two things. I was wondering if there's any money in the bond issue to help maintain these properties, because now that General Services has the job of cleaning them up, they have become dump sites. And my husband and I in our 70s have gone and cleaned up one particular lot like 4 times, and then you can't completely clean it up, so it can, it's like the dumping attracts more dumping, what I've learned. So we need help in our neighborhoods, because there's mounds of trash on some of these lots. Also, just quickly about the home ownership thing, if somebody makes $10,000 a year, I'm sorry, I know home ownership is a dream, but I've met many women especially that have bought homes in Detroit, didn't realize, it's going to cost $4,000 to put a roof on my house. People don't, if they don't have the money to pay the taxes, they have problems like getting those junk trees cut down like, they're supposed to. And then people like me who pay taxes and keep up their property, we're at their mercy. So there's a lot to consider here, you know, with there's so much blight, and it's actually getting worse where I live. People are buying houses, but it seems to be getting worse. The attitude and not cleaning up after themselves. So, thank you.
So it's good to see you again. Last time we saw you, we were talking about MSU starting.
You remember me?
Yes, of course.
A long time
We talked,
ago.
and MSU, I think, has started. No.
Well, yeah, and the first building should be up and finished at the beginning of December.
Okay, that's good to hear. So, as part of the plan of adjustment, we have $50 million a year that we spend on demolition. It's in the budget before considering the bond funds. So today, $10 million of that is spent on non-structural blight. Today, it's primarily spent on commercial corridors, graffiti, and a couple of other blight remediation things. Recently, last year or so, we've been spending a lot of it, maybe 5, 7 on boarding houses around the city. So what we're going to be doing is diverting that to non-structural blight activities that follow when the houses are being eliminated. So they'll be limbing up of trees and getting rid of old mattresses and cars and other illegal dumping that's happening. But there's one other important element that I want to highlight. We're going to be doing neighborhood plans in a different way. I know we did the Northwest Grand River plan. We're going to be expanding the boundaries of the plans because we'll be able to cover areas where there was a need for demolition. So what we're planning to do is say, hey, we're going to put a certain amount of money in blight remediation, non-structural blight remediation after the demos are over. But the same way we've done it with SNF, we had an announcement here, we're going to be seeking philanthropic support to help us make sure that those areas, once they're cleared, can be better maintained, because they either have a great landscape feature on them that comes out of the plan, or because we identified a way to do additional and better maintenance. So this is a major priority of the next round of planning, because it's going to include new areas we haven't been in. So both the non-structural blight budget of $10 million is going to be rededicated to that activity, and we're hoping to raise philanthropic money to do it as well.
Well, we can't clean up after people. They need to be educated,
Yep.
and they need to get, but then legally, they need to be fined, because it's mostly residents doing it.
I know, and that's the compliance part of the land bank work. I do want to highlight, and your council member has said, listen, I need to make sure that either right now or as part of the MOU renewal with the land bank, that the issues I have with the way we're doing compliance with new owners is enhanced. It's been an issue I've heard from every council member.
Okay, you answered some of my question, which I had, but my other question is, since you did state also, the second question was, because I was wondering where the funding was coming from to cover up the graffiti paint, so you answered that. Third question is, will some of that blight money go towards, because that would take a lot of money, such as, for example, helping to tear down that Packard building, buildings that are owned by millionaires, to leave it to me. So are we paying for their properties to be torn down as well? Because that will decrease. You set up there and say, when you say 10 million for here and 5 million for there, it takes away greatly. So that fund shrinks quickly. I work in this area, but I live over by that Packard building. So you're saying some of that funding will go towards tearing down already owned properties by people who can afford to have their own buildings torn out? That will deplete that fund even more so.
So the money that will go to, that we're raising in the bond, none of it will be spent on commercial demolitions like you're talking about. The city has been prosecuting people who maintain those commercial properties, and sometimes we're able to get and then we often take on the responsibility of demolishing them. So part of the Packard plant is publicly owned, part of it's privately owned. We have taken a lot of steps, as I know you're seeing, to take down the publicly owned portion, which we got, I believe, as part of a foreclosure. So we're taking down commercial buildings as well. The bond, but it's out of a different source of funds. This is exclusively for residential demolition.
Because we are running into overtime, we got time for only 2 more questions. We have one here and the other there.
for this young lady here. I hate to take it back.
Well, you can talk to her afterwards then. So I want to make sure this we honor this young time while he's here. Thank you. Right behind you.
Regarding the meeting that was at the mayor's office Wednesday, is there another meeting scheduled for
Yes.
like that?
So Tuesday morning, at the mayor's office at 8:30, we're having a breakfast. That's right. To talk to more people. I think. I mean, you were.
I was there Wednesday.
What I've been really
Attend another
enjoying
one,
is doing these focus groups like this one, and I'm going to be meeting some folks in District 7 tomorrow. I've already been out to 11th Precinct in District 3. It's important to get, again, I'm more interested in hearing from you what you think about it, rather than, do I want you to say, if you're in favor of it, I want you to voice your opinion. If you're not in favor, I want you to voice your opinion. But it's most important to hear from people how they feel about it and what's concerning them.
So there's going to be another one Tuesday morning, right before the council.
That's right, at
City council
8:30
meeting
a.m.
at 8:30. And then, what about these homes that are purchased in large quantities by these companies, and then the companies just leave the homes abandoned?
So,
is that money going to be used to tear down those homes that?
So something, a fun fact that I learned about as part of working on this initiative is that 60% of the houses that are bought from the land bank are bought by Detroiters. And I know that some people are surprised, some people are advising the number higher. I see both sides of that. But in order to, it's very unusual for a company to be able to come in and buy a large number of houses. Typically, they've gotten them from a bank. Has been selling batches of houses that they foreclosed on to people. The land bank, and I would also say that every single sale of number of houses that's over 9 comes to the city council. The city council's been pretty circumspect about who we're selling larger number of houses to. You probably heard about the projects like Herman Kiefer or Fitzgerald. They're very unusual. So I don't think that we've been selling houses out of our land bank in large volumes. I do know that Wells Fargo and other banks that have seized a large number of houses have been selling them to big owners, and they've been. When I used to work closely with BC, we were all over those folks because a lot of them aren't operating appropriately.
So I think we did say 2 questions. I know we just someone said I have a question over here. Yeah. Well, you got a mic, so this is your last one.
This is what I see the banks that buy up.
Oh, hold on, let's get the microphone.
I think partially responsible for the blight in the city. They buy a lot of property and hold on to it. I saw where one of the builders, I can't think of his name, one of the people who had bought a lot of, his corporation or business bought a lot of property. His nephew was on the board, or the main person who was in a company that was tearing buildings down. I thought that was shady. And it's a lot of things. I mean, it's just gentrification in another form to me. It's like slower, and banks are involved when they foreclose on all those people who bought homes, and then the interest rates kept rising and rising and rising. They were put out of those homes. And then the banks held on to them, let them sit. And that Detroit didn't start as a blighted city. I've lived in Detroit all of my life. And it was times were better when I was younger, as far as communities, homes, people took care of their homes. We knew how to take care of our property. Everybody in my community, I grew up on the east side. I wasn't even west, north, I was on the east side. We knew how to take care of our homes, our children, education, all of it. It's gone downhill over the years, and I don't think it should be put on the citizens of Detroit that we helped blight the city. I think people with money to gain and ideas they had about what to do with the city and how to turn the city around, I think that's what created the blight in the city. So, I have a lot of questions and a lot of disagreement with what's, hey, but this is only my 3rd or 4th meeting, that I've attended. So, but I'm skeptical of a lot.
So what you said was, again, this is part of the reason why I asked him to come and said it's important to make sure that he hears from the community, not just from me. Because some of the things that you stated and what you said and what you stated were some things that I stated in the room as well. There's some concerns. And so we've got to figure out, the thing that I don't do is say no, unless it's something so egregious.
Right.
First thing I say is, tell me about it. Let's talk about it. Then we have issues. Let's see how we can work through it. If we get to a point where there's an impasse, now we know what decision we have to make. And so right now, we're at the point where we're talking about these issues. Now, I will tell you this, the committee that is overseeing this particular agenda item has already sent it out of their committee. It's now gone before the full council for a vote on Tuesday, but it won't be voted on Tuesday. I doubt very highly, based upon the skepticism of many of my colleagues and myself. We have questions. What the committee said is, we done all we can do, now it's out to you all, and it was sent out without recommendation. So more than likely, this is going to be a question that's going to be pushed, certainly I believe, beyond next week. Now we have, what's the date that the council's being asked to vote on a deadline? To get the interest rates? Yeah.
Got it.
So, because that's the clock.
There is a clock, absolutely. So we want the public to be able to vote on this in the March ballot. So if you're like me and you'd like to vote in the primary in March, and that's where we're hoping to have it on the ballot. What will happen, in order to get it on the ballot, it has to be sent to the clerk to be put on the ballot by December 17th. And just to back up your question, we want to have it on the ballot in March, because that means we'll be able to get the interest rates for the borrowing of this that sort of maximize our capacity. The interest rates have almost never been lower in America. We want to take advantage of that and have very low borrowing costs for the money we're using to do this. But again, it's about the people having a chance to choose. And but I do think your counselor is asking the right questions, and we're going to give them answers. I think it takes longer to give those answers. We're having a healthy conversation. We're all for that. So I don't think you're going to see us saying, got to get voted next week. We want to make sure I get to do another 10 meetings like this, and that everybody's questions have been answered, and they know the checks and balances they're going to have to control and make sure that it's done the right way and the way that the electorate wants it to happen.
So we want to thank you for coming by today. We're certainly not done with the conversation now. There may be some other opportunities. We are winding down the end of the year. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Next week we have the agenda already set. We've got a real robust agenda. We have the vice chair of the Charter Commission coming by to talk about the operations of the Charter Commission and what's coming forward, because we're going to have to vote on that when it comes out. We're also going to have Assistant Chief White talking again about the DPD and how they utilize technology and want to utilize technology. So those are real heavy topics, and we want to ensure that there's enough opportunity for people to ask questions and get those questions answered. So we won't be able to get you on the agenda next Saturday, but if some group, and I think it's important, I don't think you want to do groups of 5 and 10. You want as many people as you can. To be honest with you, let's be real. How can people get in touch with you if they want to create a meeting of individuals? How do they get in touch with you in your office, your team, to come out and give a presentation?
So, I'm going to be going crazy today. I'm going to give everybody my cell phone.
You talking about the folks who are watching on Facebook?
Oh, I don't know about that. So, can I give you my email address? My email address is ajemison, AJEMISON, at DetroitMI.gov. One more time. Sure. AJ. So send an email to me, and we will come to you. It's important that we hear from everybody and get input, because again, I think this is a warm-up for a broader conversation.
We appreciate it. We're going to invite you back, depending on how long this thing. Something big coming up on October 30th.
Thank you, Councilman. Can we give this guy here is on the top of the list, not only because he has these meetings, celebrate Angels Night, along with the Blight Busters. We were the group that our children should be subject to something positive, and words are powerful. Not only do we gather on So on Angels Night, October 30th, we'll be here. Dinner's on the house. We'd love for you guys to join us. Bring the kids. Bring whoever you'd like. Doors open at 5 o'clock. Dinner will be served at 6. And Miss Alicia and her staff will be serving dessert and coffee at 7. And then we'll be out patrolling. Also, we're going to have a live band and a DJ. And we're also inviting back the Detroit Marching Band. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We'd love to have you join us. 2 other things really quick. Brandon, could you stand up real quick? Yep, you. I want you to give this guy, Peter Cummings, in the platform, a round of applause, please, and I'll tell you why. A couple years ago, they purchased the vacant building at Grand River and Losser, and this week they started its renovation. That building is going to get completely restored. It's going to have new retail, new businesses, and we fill out the little online app. Do what they need to do by please let me know because to be exposed to that dangerous situation. If you want to come out and bust a little concrete, you know where to find me. God bless you. Say nice things about Detroit. Peace, y'all. Enjoy.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming out today. Give yourselves a round of applause. Y'all could have done better than that. Overtime. So just one quick announcement. So say it after me. Eats. Treats. Okay, she left. So we are hosting an event to support our businesses along Grand River. Major reconstruction of Grand River from Southfield between on Grand River between Warwick and Bratton Drive. We are encouraging our folks to patronize those businesses, but it's also a kid-friendly event. So we're going to have music, we're going to have games, food, pumpkin painting for the little Reggie? Okay. And so the kiddie disco is going to be at Cuts. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to us. Our phone number is 313-224-1027. Again, I'll make sure that every single person has a flyer, and if you have a flyer, you are responsible for telling 10 people to come out and join us. Thank you.
So let me just say this, and thank you, Edwina. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's a lot of stuff for the kids, candy, it's a cute name. But the reason we're doing this is because we want to support the businesses that have been there, that are along Grand River. So we cannot lose sight of that. We can't lose sight of how and so we've got to really do it. Even if you go and buy 1, 2, 3 trinkets, that helps. But you got to tell somebody else. So bring the kids. Thing is make sure that you help celebrate and appreciate these businesses by buying something from them. And you can certainly do it on that day. That's the day we're all going to be out there having a good time. But don't forget the rest of the days as well, because there's a whole lot more construction that's still up to come. We got 2 years. 2 years of this. So it's going to be moving down the way. This is something that the community said they wanted. There were multiple meetings. The business owners said they did as well. It's going to be some tough stuff before we start to see and reap the benefits of it. So in the meantime, we got to remember they're part of our community as well. It's not them and us. We're all in it together. So we'll see you on October 30th, right? I got real quiet. Okay. I'll be there. We'll see you. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. Have a good day. Oh, D1 monthly meeting. Reggie, last thing. Y'all don't leave. Y'all, you can't leave yet. No, can't leave yet. Don't leave. Just tell them what a D1 monthly meeting is. I gave them already some of the topics.
Okay, the D1 monthly meeting is going to be taking place next Saturday, October 26th at Christian Fellowship of Love Baptist Church, 22400 Grand River. Come out here, hang a right on Grand River. It's about 4 or 5 blocks up. It's right past Wendy's, I think it is. You can't miss it. It's on the right-hand side. Big parking lot, and for getting the street, you're going to have to pass by the church. The first right you come to after you pass the church, hang a right, and the parking lot's towards the back. But please, 22400 Grand River. Please be there next Saturday, 10 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all take care of it. For real this time.
You can go now. Thank you.
You know what? But it's one federal court always hold on my phone. So they're prosecuting in federal court. I want to hear about crime. That's how media works. This is the one that so when they get do they really get money in you probably don't get the money back or whatever. You know, there's salaries and balances of the shares. So whatever was in there, they're charging it back in the destruction. So actually the destruction, how they got it, conspiracy, always all of that. You have to be careful about that. Yeah, that's the way they report.